Hi guys, I'm Jenny. Welcome to my channel where we focus on using ordinary materials to make beautiful things. It's another Motivational Monday. So I am back today to work in my sort of glue book. I mean, I say it's a glue book, but we end up doing other things in it too. So, you know, it's kind of whatever we want it to be. This week I was searching for some inspiration, and rather than taking inspiration from a quote, I decided to find some inspiration in a piece of paper or ephemera and then find a quote that I thought went with that. So what I found was this, and I really love this. It is, as you can see, just a piece of notebook paper that I have dyed. It was in my stash. You can see that I used a stencil, and it has some pink watercolor stains on it, and then it's got a different stencil or a stash of something, or, you know, whatever, I don't know, splatters of another color. A lot of times when I dye papers, I do one, then I do another one, maybe in a different color, and I kind of stack them together, and they kind of bleed on each other, which just makes for an interesting piece of paper. So I really like this, and I like that it goes with this kind of blue-green background here on this half page. So I'm thinking we're going to put our quote over here. And then we're just going to do something over here. I'm not really sure what. I pulled out some mixed media stuff that I want to play with. So we're going to try some different things with that. And we'll see where it takes us. I have not pulled any images to put down. So I'm going to make a background. Maybe do the wording. And then maybe stop the video and find some images to go with it. Excuse me just a minute. I have to get my cat out of the thing she's playing with. Okay, I'm back. So Kitty's outside of the studio now, and I think maybe we can get going. All right, so as I was saying, I took some inspiration from this, and I really like it. But before we start working on this, I want to put some different mediums on here and do some painting to create a background. I'm not really sure what I'm going to put on that background yet, but that will need to dry. So we're going to do that first and let that dry a little. So I'm just going to set this off to the side. I'm thinking that I would like to use some paints, some sprays that I have created. And well, it's not really paint. All I did was I took some ink. I had some leftover inks from a set of Dr. Martin's India ink. And I had just tiny little bits of ink left, so I added water and put them in a spray bottle. So we are going to spray some of that on. But before we do that, I want to add some textures. So I want to glue some things down, just kind of randomly put some texture on there so that the paint has something to kind of go around and move across. That sort of thing. So I want to put down some texture, maybe hit it with a little bit of gesso so that the paint has something to adhere to, and then we'll stick it. I keep saying paint, but it's actually ink. And of course I didn't get a brush for my glue. Okay. So these are just pieces of paintable wallpaper. So they're just scraps of what's left. So I just want to put maybe a few of those hodgepodged around. I don't want particularly straight lines, so we'll just tear some of those. And just maybe a little bit of that. That's okay. Then I also have this. This is when you have some paper. This one came from one of my mixed media paper pads. And of course, when you tear it out off of a spiral, you get these little pieces, which can make some kind of nice texture. So it's almost lacy. And then I have this, which is a piece of a book spine. When I was taking apart a book, this is part of where the spine was glued. So maybe we'll put a couple of pieces of those on there too. we'll just kind of, I don't know if we'll, you know, use all of this, but you know what? I'm not going to overthink it. I think I'm just going to glue some stuff down. I think that would be better. I don't want that straight edge though. Maybe those are a little big. So I was going to say I should place them around, but I don't think I want to do that. I think I just want to not overthink it and kind of put them down. So I am actually using some wallpaper glue. You guys have probably seen me use this before. It's wallpaper and border adhesive. This is a 32-ounce tub. I probably paid somewhere between the $8 to $10 range for this. I'm sure it was less than 10, but it might have been like 9 something, you know. So I like this paper when I'm this glue when I am doing some pretty large collages, this kind of stuff that I'm going to paint over. If I'm just gluing down an image from a magazine, that's really light. It doesn't need anything this wet, and something this wet would tend to wrinkle it. So if you're doing something like that, a glue stick is probably fine. But we're gonna throw some ink and stuff on this. I keep saying paint, but it's ink. We're gonna throw some other stuff on top of this. So I want it to stick down, and I'm also gonna throw some gesso over this to make sure it's all ready for that. So right now I'm just kind of randomly putting down some things to provide some texture, because I want something to, like when I spray it with the ink, it'll kind of go around things and over things and create little rivulets, that kind of stuff. So this is sort of a messy prospect, but it's okay. Today I feel like making a mess. These little pieces of wallpaper down, because they're a little bit bigger. This one's kind of an interesting wallpaper. It's a border and it's kind of spongy. Oh, there's the other piece. It has a lot of dimension to it, and it's kind of a spongy feel, sort of interesting. So, okay, and then maybe just a little bit of these here and there. And I'm just looking for random texture kind of things. I'm not trying to create any kind of image right now, just putting down some things for texture. That one's a little thick. Try again. So you can see that the paper's getting a little wet here. We may have to hit it with a heat gun to dry it out a little. We'll see. I do have my heat gun ready. Of course, I got the heat gun out, but then of course I didn't get the plug to plug it in. So if I have to hit it with the heat gun, I will just stop the video for a minute or two and dry it. Because, you know, you don't need to watch me dry paint. As the case may be. Or ink, right? That one just doesn't want to stick. Okay, I do think I am going to get my heat gun and dry this before I put a little gesso on it, because I feel like some of the little pieces, some of these pieces are going to want to move around a little bit. So I don't want them to move. So let me do that, and I will be right back with it dry, and then we'll keep going. Okay, so I have dried this. It's still a little buckled, but that's because the paper's a little wet. It's not, you know, dry all the way through probably. It's probably just surface dry, but that's enough for what we're going to do. So I am just going to hit it with a little gesso, and I tend to be a little heavy-handed with gesso, so I'm just going to do it with my fingers because I don't want to have too much, and I feel like if I just kind of spread it around with my fingers, I can not put too much on it. So I'm just looking to kind of make everything feel like a single layer, which is why the gesso works well for that, because it kind of equalizes it. It knocks some of it into the background. Just kind of feels like it's all incorporated better when you throw a little gesso on top of it. If you don't have gesso, just use some paint. You don't even have to use white. You could use any color you want. If you use a lighter color like white or, you know, just cream or something like that, it's easier to see the details, like of the paper behind it. But if you had paper that you didn't really want to see, or that you didn't care, it was, you know, scrap paper, and you didn't really want to see that, then, you know, use a darker color. The only thing about gesso is that it's matte. So if you use a glossy paint, it is going to look a little bit different. Gesso's only glossy when it's wet, and once it dries, it becomes very matte finish. So if you have some matte paint, that would be okay. You know, if you're looking for something that's inexpensive, you could get some flat, you could get one of the little sample paints at the hardware store, like Home Depot and Lowe's, where you go to the paint department and they have the little samples of paint sitting there. You could just get a flat white there. If you wanted something flat white, that would certainly be good. You could, if you have, you know, it's not common, but if you happen to have some plaster of Paris, like maybe you made, you know, a piñata or some something like that. If you have some plaster of Paris left, you can mix that in to some paint to give you that matte finish. That'll make kind of a chalky paint. And I know I should probably be doing this with a brush, but like I said, I tend to be a little heavy-handed, and I just don't want to cover up everything. So I find that when I use a brush, I just put way too much on. So this probably takes a little bit longer. And certainly, you know, if you don't want to get your hands dirty, then you could use a brush. Just trying to get some of those strings from that book spine to kind of flatten out a little bit. Maybe stick down a little more. Not really sure what we're going to do with this page after we get it backgrounded. With all this texture on it, maybe it'll just be pretty the way it is. Maybe we won't do anything to it. Nah, we'll do something to it, right? We won't be able to just leave it. Well, you might be able to just leave it. I don't know. I won't be able to just leave it because it's just not who I am. It's not in my nature to just leave it. So, sort of depends on your style, doesn't it? And that's the cool thing about art, is everybody can have a different style, and you can enjoy what you like. And you know, if you don't like the same thing somebody else likes, that's okay. To each his own, especially when you're making your own. You know, it's not up to anybody but you how it looks when you're making your own. Okay. That looks pretty good, I think, as far as gesso goes. So wipe my hand off a little bit here. See, and that's not nearly as heavy as I tend to be. I feel like I would usually have a lot more gesso on there. Okay. It's mostly dry. Gesso dries really fast, but I am going to stop and hit it with the heat gun just to make sure it's well and truly dry on top before we start spraying the inks. So I will be right back. Okay, I am back from doing that and realized I got some gesso over here. That's okay. I think that paper is probably going to cover up most of this, and it's all right if there's some gesso on it. Okay, so I have some paper towels. As you can see, I've already used them to catch some paint from before. I was doing a color wheel for one of my other journals, and so there's some paint on that. So I'm going to go ahead and use those because they're still perfectly usable. Probably going to need another one. I just don't want to mess up, you know, what's underneath there. And we'll see, because I think I'm gonna, the sprays are very liquid, so you know, I'm gonna probably tip the page around a little bit and see what we can get. All right, so I chose colors because this is kind of got pinks and greens. I've got some, like this one's kind of a reddy, it's kind of a dark red, and this one's more of an orangey red. Here's a darker kind of a peacock blue, and there's kind of a blue green. And then I have one that's brown that kind of just adds, you know, patina to things. So let's see. I'm not really sure how it's going to work on here, but we'll see. I'm gonna move some of this out. I'm pretty sure it's gonna spray everywhere, right? So there's a little bit of that one, and I think I'm just for, you know, we're gonna do a couple of them here and let them run together a little. Try a little bit of the brown. Try not to be overly zealous because I don't want it to be everywhere on my desk, but I'm getting a little bit of running there. I mean, it's probably hard to see on the camera because I've got the page tipped up. I think when we put some blue on, it will be much brighter and easier to see probably. So I think, you know what, I think I'm gonna dry this a little bit with my heat gun as well to kind of set some of that background kind of pinky color, because I like this pink with that. I think it's a nice background. And then I'll put some blue on it and see if we can get some drips. So let me do that and I'll be right back. Okay, so I have dried it out a little bit, just so that the ink isn't super wet. There's still a couple spots that are not fully dry, but that's okay. I'm just looking to kind of set that background a little bit. I really like this kind of dreamy pinky look. And too, when we look at this page and this and we see the pink pearls and the kind of blue-green from the layout that we did a couple of weeks ago, the mountain one, you can kind of carries across. So I'm really liking those colors. I do want to add some of the blue and the kind of the peacock blue and the blue green though, just because I like a little bit of brightness to it. Put the caps back on there. So I'm thinking I'm going to move this up a little bit because I'm probably going to pull it, you know, tip it this way a little. So we'll see how this goes. This blue one tends to be pretty dark. Let's see. Let me put this back over here because I really don't want it on here. Yep, and I'm just getting overspray on other stuff. There's some dots of it. And I'm going to grab my water bottle and hit it with a little water just to see if I can get it to run a little bit. Let me tip it up. I know you probably can't see it on the screen at this point because it's tipped up, but I'm just spraying it with my water, trying to get it to run a little. So as soon as it does that, I'm going to spray a little more blue on it. If I can get some droplets. to run a little bit. Okay. So you can see we got some rivulets going. We got a little bit of gathering here, you know, where it's kind of running a little bit, which is what I'm after. Might be able to get it to run this way a little. The problem is really if you put enough water on it to really make it run, it soaks the page, and I don't want to soak it too much, you know, because I have something on the other side. So if I didn't have something as, you know, watercolor on the other side, I wouldn't worry about it as much. But I do, so I don't want to soak it too much. Let's see if I can get it to run a little. Okay, let's try the other blue. And really, this one, I'm just kind of playing today. I'm not really sure what I'm after here. Just that I want it to be kind of dreamy and a background. And I kind of like, you can see where some of the blue is gathering in the wallpaper pieces and showing up the texture. So I like that. You know, I think I'm going to dry it first before I put that kind of blue-green on it. So I'll be right back after I dry it. Okay, I'm back from that, and I really like how this is looking. I think I'm gonna tip the page this way more this time and see if I can spray some, so get some of that. It's probably not showing up very well on the camera because it's tipped up, but I'm trying to get it to run a little in different places. I want to be sure I get each of those textures that I put on there. Okay, I think that's looking good. I like it. So I'm going to stop and dry it too. May have gone a little overboard with the blue, but I like the blue, so I might go back and put a little bit of the red on. Let's dry it and see, because sometimes it's lighter when we dry it. So I will hit it with the heat gun and dry it, and then I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. It's mostly dry, and it did dry a little bit lighter, but I would like a little more of the reddish color. I mean, there's plenty of red here, but I'd like a little, there's kind of a lot of blue in one spot here. So I'm gonna try to see if I can get a little more red on just on top of a couple of spots where there seems to be an overly amount of blue. And then I'm gonna see if I can get it to run a little bit. Try some water. There we go. Soak that up along the edge here because I don't want it to be too far into the binding. That's better. I like that little bit of red better. I am going to go ahead and dry it one more time, and then we're going to let it sit a little bit while we work on this side, because the heat gun will kind of surface dry it, but it won't be super dry. So I'm gonna hit it with the heat gun, kind of dry out the surface, and then we'll work on this side, and then we'll decide if we want to put something over here. And I'm thinking we probably will, just not sure yet what. So we'll put the words in, and then we'll decide what kind of image might go with those. Okay, I'm back. So I'm really liking the kind of dreamy quality to this. I think we can probably pull those out and let that dry a little. So I think we're gonna let that sit and keep drying a little bit while we work on this side. So I just realized that I hadn't told you what wording I was going to put on there. And the words, I think, I'm having trouble finding the cats for these. There we go. I saw something and I didn't write it down, so I don't have it exactly memorized. So it was something to the effect of, remember where you've been. You know, you're maybe not as far along as you want to be, but you're much further than when you started. And so I'm thinking that that's a good sentiment. So I don't know if we want just remember where you've been. This is kind of a big piece, so we could probably write a good deal on it. So maybe, you know, you may not be as far as you want to be, but you're much farther than you were. Maybe that would be a good way to go. Maybe you're not as far. So let's see. Do we want to leave the holes on there, or should we cut the holes off? I'm thinking we want to cut the holes off. I will grab a marker and a pair of scissors. So be right back. Okay, I'm back. I feel like I've been saying I'll be right back a lot today, so I must not be as prepared as I thought I was. Oh goodness, I just heard a little mini crash outside, which means one of my cats knocked off something that they're not supposed to be playing with. And I think it's just a little long. That way it's a little more centered. I don't know, maybe I should have left that on. I do have some washi tape and stickers and stuff maybe we could put around it. So I have some of these. These are the ones, you probably remember these. I really like these. I've been using them a lot. I made these out of address labels, that junk mail address labels. So maybe we'll do that. All right, let's write before we put it in here, because it's just easier when it's not kind of lumpy underneath it. So let's set that aside. And we need to decide exactly what we're going to write and where it's going to go. So do we want, remember where you've been? Let's see. Remember where you've been. And then there was the you may not be as far as you want, but you're further than you were. All right, is that too much? Remember where you've been, so maybe that's 2 lines. I'm trying to think, let's see. You may not be as far as you want, but you're further than you were. So it'd be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 lines. And the lines are a little hard to see on here. It's easier to see on the back. So there's quite a few lines. So let's try that. So 8 lines about, let's see if we can figure out about where the middle is. I don't want to crease it too hard, just kind of want to know where it is. Okay, and there are, let's see, so 1, 2, 3, so maybe 4 lines above that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Maybe up here. Or should we start further at the top and then space it? Maybe remember where you've been. And then kind of in the middle, you may not be as far as you want, but you're further than you were. Yeah, maybe I like that better. I think that might be better. Okay, so apparently I did not pick up the marker that runs well. That's okay. Oh, it's deciding to work better now. And I did. Now I'm writing it so large that it's going to take a lot more lines. That's okay. Remember, it's about 2 lines. Apparently, I can't do this and talk too, because I was going to tell you that I brought something that I want to try. I have some stuff that when my mother-in-law was cleaning out her craft room, it's been quite a while ago, she gave me some things, and some of it I have used in a different way, but these I have not. So I have these embossing markers that I really haven't tried. I've used the embossing powders, and I've done other things with them with different stamps and things like that, but I haven't tried the embossing markers. So I thought I might go in and try some embossing over the letters. So I thought I'd do the letters first and then go back with the marker and put some embossing powder on it. So we'll see how that works, because I haven't tried that. We'll try that to see. Okay, remember where you've been. I think we're still okay. Kind of in the middle. Maybe we should do the end first. But you're further than you were, so couple lines up. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Maybe starting here. Okay, then that just leaves us the middle. You may not be as far as you want. You may not be as far as, I don't know if we can get the you may not be as far as you want. Okay, so we'll try for those. So just a couple up here. You may not. Be as far as. I always write bigger than I think I'm going to, so. I try to write small, but it just doesn't work. Be as far as. You want, comma, but you're further than you were. Oh, see, and then that's good, because that'll leave us, we can put maybe some butterflies or something in here, or just leave the paper, but yeah, so that's okay. I mean, the middle's not as good. I think the top and the bottom look better than the middle, but at this point, we've done it in ink, and we're gonna live with it, so that's all there is to it. All right, so I'm not really sure. Let's see what it says about these. Apply marker to paper. Pour on clear metallic embossing powders and heat with embossing with a heat tool. Okay, so I have 3 different embossing powders that I brought. I have a few more, but this is Detail Gold. So it's kind of a dark kind of gold. This is Copper. So this is kind of a reddy brown. And then I brought the hot pink. Now, maybe the hot pink is too bright, but I think it's kind of interesting. So I thought, you know, we could do a little bit here just to see how it works first. Let's do this. Let's go. Try one. Let's see how the hot pink looks. Except I'm thinking I probably should have thought about having to pick this up, huh? Okay. It's like glitter. You got to pick it up and put it back. All right, so I probably should have thought about that before I put it on my trashy background paper. Oh, well. Oh, well. That wasn't so bad. Oh, look at that. Look at that in the bright pink. All right, let's hit it with the heat gun and see. So I'll leave the camera on for the heat gun for this. Okay, now I realize some of you are probably like, yeah, we've had embossing powders and things like that forever, but it's one of those things that I thought this is cool, but it's sitting in my stash and I haven't really used it. That is really cool. And I love that color. That's a cool color. And you can't see the black at all. So is it? Oh, and it's already dry. Oh, that is so nifty. Okay, we're going to do pink, right? I think we'll probably have to do, I'm thinking maybe a word at a time. I'm betting because you have to do it while it's wet. Water-based, so you probably want to do it while it's wet. So I'm just going to go over my words. Okay. Because I don't want it to dry on me, right? So I'm afraid if I do more than one line at a time, it will dry. The good news is this is a lot easier to pick up than the other, although I did just manage to. Okay. Now see, I think it didn't quite stick here probably because it was already drying maybe. I wonder how many letters at a time we should do. I think we could probably wait and heat it all at once. Let's do. It just occurred to me I could have put the pink in the middle and the gold and the bronze at the top and bottom and had 3 different colors. That might have been fun. Oops. I forgot the punctuation. Oh no. The English teacher in me is like, no, make sure you do the punctuation. I apologize if this is going slowly. Oh, I've smudged off some of it up there when I picked it up. Okay, so there's the lesson. Be sure that you don't knock it off before you use the heat gun. Maybe I should have done the top before I did these. But I'll go back and fix it in a second. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and use the heat gun on those because I don't want to keep knocking that off. So let's do those, and then we'll do the bottom one at the bottom. I'm afraid I'm going to keep knocking it off. I can see I probably should have written it with this marker to begin with instead of going over this with the other one, because you can see some of the black underneath from the other marker. On the other hand, you know, maybe that's okay. Just makes it look like there's another layer under there, and oh, there is. I'm trying to decide what images would look really good with this wording, with this message. I haven't really come up with any particular thoughts. I always like butterflies. That's always a good one. But I feel like I use those a lot. And butterflies and flowers are kind of my go-to, so I'm not really sure what to do instead. Okay. Got a little there that I spilled, but I'll get that in just a second. Let's go ahead and use the heat gun on this one. You know, I actually use the background papers after I get paint and stuff all over them. I tear them up and use them in my collages or other things. So I think I'm just gonna, instead of cleaning that up, I think I'm gonna, oh, it didn't, it didn't melt because it didn't stick. It just blew it away. Oh, well, I guess I should have known that that was gonna happen because it just blew it. Okay, so it just blew it over there. I'll clean it up. All right, so let's go ahead and bring the book back. That page is looking, yeah, it's feeling a lot drier now. Bring the book back. Let's add this to the page. Do we want it this way? Because I was thinking I might put stickers on the edge. Maybe just across like it's taped in, even though it's really not. Okay, Let's go ahead and put it in the middle. Hopefully that stuff won't squish off while I'm doing this. Wish I could hear you guys, you know, talking to me, because then I would know maybe what images you're thinking would look good with this. Because like I said, I'm not sure. I mean, I really would love to put butterflies and flowers on it, but I just kind of feel like that's my go-to. And so I'm thinking maybe I'd like something a little different, because I really love this watery background. I think it really looks good. Okay. And this, I'm gonna use those as little, like they're pieces of tape holding it in. I think that would work well. Okay, so I'm liking that. Okay, so I'm going to stop here for now, and I'm going to find some images, and I will be back. So I'm just going to turn off the camera, and when I find some images that seem to speak to this color scheme or these words, then I'll be back. I'm thinking maybe I'll pull something. Maybe I'll just pull some things that are this color, like pink or something, to put over here that we could just kind of dot around. I don't want to cover up all of the texture. So I'll find something, or maybe we'll draw something. Maybe we could just watercolor draw. We could just draw something in there. We'll see. All right, so I'm going to turn off the camera and look through my images and see what I can come up with. So I'll be back. Okay guys, I'm back. I dug through my stash and I found something that I really like, and so I want to show you what I found. I've got to thinking about, you know, being as far as you want, and you know, you're further than you were, and I was thinking about journeys, and a lot of times we equate a journey with a road, but a road kind of symbolizes that maybe someone has been there before you and laid a path, whereas if you're on a ship out on the ocean, there's no real path, and you can get blown off course, and there are storms, and there are fair winds, and all kinds of things. So I thought that the ship was a really good symbol of a journey, you know, because it didn't have a particular road to follow. There might be someplace you're going, but there are lots of ways to get there. So I thought that the ship would be a good symbol of that. So I found the ship, and I fussy cut it. It came from a book on ships and treasure, and I really like the line drawing quality of this, and I like how the white just pops against this blue. So I'm not going to color it or anything. I had thought maybe I would at first, but then when I laid it on the page, I love this, and I love the colors of the background, because now it looks like almost sunset, you know, with the blues and the pinks and the clouds. And I feel like these texture pieces are almost clouds, you know, out on the horizon somewhere. So I think that works really well. I also thought about along the way, I have been blown off course a lot, but I have also collected some beautiful shells in my life. So I found these images that I had colored quite a while back from a coloring book. So I had kind of put those in my stash. I did add a couple more little pieces of tape just to kind of balance out where I'm going to put those. But otherwise, I think it's almost done, though. I did think this really needs to sit on something, and I don't want it all the way down here. I kind of want it up here. So I came across this, which is actually and it's kind of shiny, so it's probably may be hard to see with the light. I'm gonna try to hold it this way so there's not glare. It's actually a piece of the kind of plastic that goes behind your fish tank. So you can see it's two-sided, right? One side is like rocks and the other side is kind of water. So I thought it would be fun to put some water on here. And I was thinking that I might go ahead and I had originally thought I was going to put it down here and set this, you know, kind of behind it maybe. But I really think I'd like some of the water behind this. So I thought I might do this and then put this down here so that it's a little behind. There's, you know, it's on the water, but it's a little behind. So that might be a little too much. Maybe down to there. We just kind of have to decide how much we want of the water. And there's a little water here, so I was thinking I might just cut a slit in this and kind of slide the boat into it. I think that would be a lot of fun. So I'm going to, let's kind of get a measurement here for where the page ends. So I'm just gonna, pardon my elbow there, I'm just gonna kind of snip it there. So we can get kind of a smaller piece to work with. And then I can trim it. It's a little uneven, but I can trim it when we're done. So that may be a little much. So maybe there. So that would be about that much. So let's see. And this is really slick and glossy, as I'm sure you can tell, because it's kind of a plastic coated paper. So I am going to use double-sided tape to stick this down because I'm just not sure the glue will actually hold it because of what it is, because of the material. So I don't know if I got that straight or not. Looks kind of straight, not really. It's not really straight, is it? But I'm not sure. Yeah, I guess it really is fairly straight. Okay, so let's trim this down. So I'm just going to leave the fold there and use that kind of as my guide. That way I don't have to try to cut on the crease and you end up with a piece of the crease on one side or the other, and it's kind of problematic sometimes. So there we go. Head it this way because I had the even side here. Although really, I guess I could kind of come along here if I wanted to make it even and just line up the corners. That might be a good way to do that. There we go. That's better. Not sure there's really a right side up. Maybe this way. It is a little uneven, but I don't think it really matters. So I need to kind of decide where I'm going to put the boat because I do want to cut a slit in it because I want to slide the boat down in there. Because I think this looks cool. Like, so we've got the water and then we've kind of got the horizon line, you know, and he's sitting above it. So let's mark. All right, I want my slit about there. I think this will probably wipe off. Didn't do a very good job of getting a straight line there, did I? Okay. Yeah, I think I'm gonna have to get a knife, but I don't trust myself with scissors with this. I'll be right back. Okay, I just took that over to my cutting mat and just cut the slit, and then I just used a baby wipe and wiped off the excess ink, because of course, because it's slick, it doesn't, you know, it doesn't quite. Let's see. Could come out, cut off a little more of this, but I really kind of want it to fit in there. Up just a little bit. So like that, I think. So let's see, I'm gonna see if I can just put, I can just run a little sliver of tape under there to hold the ship in place. So this is a double-sided foam tape. It's pretty flat though. It doesn't have a lot of dimension. There we go. Okay, so that should keep the ship from moving around back there, and we'll put another piece or two here. Sticking to my fingers more than it's sticking to this, so maybe I should just put it there and smooth it out. There we go. Okay, so I'm just gonna cut some foam tape to hold that in. I guess I should wait and pull the paper off once I have put all the tape down. That would probably be a good idea. I don't use this very often, so I'm not really a master of double-sided tape, but it seemed like the best thing to use for what we're doing today, so. And I thought too that the foam tape would give it a little dimension to go with the dimension of the background, with this kind of stuff in the background. I do have double-sided tape that is not foam, but I did choose this because I thought it would just give it just a little bit of oomph back there. I'll cut that a little too wide, maybe. And a little too long. Pay attention, Medlock. Okay. That should be okay, and you know, since we have these pieces, we'll go ahead and stick them on there. No need to waste them, I don't think. All right. I am not very good at peeling things off like this. Just looking at my fingernails, realizing that I have ink and paint and stuff under my nails, and they look pretty bad. I tried to keep them polished. I tried for a while to put the polish on them, but I just couldn't manage to keep up with it. By the time they, you know, about the time they chipped and I needed to do them again, I was busy doing other things. So, all right, so let's put this at the bottom and just in from the edge a little bit to help it close. All right, and then we're just gonna need to put some glue or something behind here. I think since we've got a little dimension here, we probably need to put the dimensional tape behind here as well, but I really like that. I think it's I think that's fun, so let's just maybe run a piece up the middle. I think I got a bubble in the tape. Okay, how not to apply foam tape. All right, we'll put a little bit on the sides as well, just to hold those down. I think this should do it, and then this will create the same dimension that's down here, so it should lay correctly, right? It shouldn't be too bubbled. Let's see, I did get some bubbles in the tape. Oh well. Mistakes happen when you try something new, and this is new for me, so I have this foam tape that I got, I don't know where, somewhere. I don't know if somebody gave it to me or if I got it like at a yard sale or it was in a package. I tend to buy packages of things at thrift stores, like bags of things. I find, you know, I look at it and it's a few dollars and there are 2 or 3 things in there that I see that I really like. And then I get other stuff too, so it could have come from one of those places as well. All right. Now see, I really love that. I think that's fun because I like the water. I like these as clouds. I like this kind of sunset look to the colors. So really, I think we just have to glue down the shells over here. I think this one just barely fits. Move this up a little bit. Get some glue here. I'm just knocking stuff over. Good heavens. You know what? I got a scrap. Let's do that. So I don't get glue on my paper. I hope when you color something that you consider the images in your coloring book as art that you could use in your journal. I really like to cut out my coloring book images. I cut them up. Otherwise, they're just going to sit in your coloring book. And I mean, if you go back and look at your coloring book and enjoy the art, then that's fine. But if you look at, you know, if you're not looking at the coloring book and the coloring book is just kind of taking up space and you're like, I'm done with this book, what do I do now? Then cutting up the images and using them in a journal layout lets you still enjoy them in a different way. All right. Put that back. I think we're going to call this one done, guys. I really love this. I love this dimensional stuff. This is fun. Even though you still see a little bit of the marker behind it. I mean, I probably could go back and outline and stuff, but I'm not sure I want to. I think I really just kind of like it the way it is. And I love this. So the main attraction here for me is the background. And this background piece that I pulled out that kind of inspired it all. And then my shells that I colored. So I feel like on this one, I put a lot of artwork in here. So because I dyed this paper, I colored these, I created this, you know, dimensional background. So there's a lot of personalized stuff here, I think. So I encourage you to look at your stash, look at what you have, be inspired by something you have, and use that as a jumping off point. That's what happened with this kind of pink and greeny blue piece of paper today that inspired the whole thing. Okay, so I hope you had a good time. Please hit like and subscribe if you did. It really helps me a lot. I appreciate those of you who are watching. You can find me at all of those links at the end of the video if you'd like to follow me on Instagram or see me on Facebook or any of those things. That's where I am, so you can always reach out to me there if you'd like to, or you can leave a comment below. I would love for you to talk to me about what you think about this layout or any of the layouts we've done, or anything you'd like to see me do. So until next time, remember, use what you have to make your life more beautiful. Bye.